Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Darkstone Dossiers with your host, Anthony Darkstone.
They explored very different paths, and on their life's journey, they learned many different lessons. And after mastering those lessons, why, they passed them on, believing themselves to be the only truth holders, ignorant of all other philosophies. Therefore, they were unable to see their true destination. Now, each traveler believed himself very wise and that his was the one true path. But being blind to what the others could see, they never expected to meet. Now, time went on, new lessons were learned, and their paths crossed often. And their eyes, why, they began to open, seeing that these other paths were not so unlike their own, and finding they had very much the same knowledge. And so these travelers, they decided to travel together. They approached situations from very different perspectives, not always agreeing on the final outcome. They learned from each other nonetheless, finding they weren't so very different after all. They found they could have very different paths and still travel life's road together. And now, instead of looking at a journey as something one would travel alone, having no one there by his side, they found that other travelers could actually enhance this journey, making this trip sweeter and the rewards greater. Oh, and the moral, you ask? Well, the moral of the story is, on your life's journey, know that our paths may appear very different, but our quests, they're very much the same. And if we just choose to learn from each other, well, then we may just find life's greatest treasure.
Wow, wow, wow, wow, wow, wow, wow, wow. Everybody's on mute, so I'm just yelling wow for everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Absolutely love this, absolutely love this. And I'm sure by the reactions to all our attendees, so they do. Well, I referred to earlier, Suzanne, about, some incredible things that have happened in your life and your career. To the best of my knowledge, and I will stand corrected, you've actually been on 3 covers, NUM,
yes,
which we'll bring up at some stage to let everybody have a look. Okay, the Linking Ring.
That one, yeah. I think that's the most recent.
Right, and Genie.
And that was the first one. I think that was 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have a still, which I've actually posted. There was a couple of gentlemen in Vegas. People may recall their names. I think it's Penn and Teller, but
yeah.
You actually managed to fool them. Where was still of you carrying that trophy with you? There it is. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I even have it over here someplace.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
maybe we can.
Look at that.
Well, okay.
Look at that right there.
For real. There you go. For real. Yeah.
A little bit of a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. I love the SAM logo in the background on the still. So, hey, of course, I'm biased. What can I say? So that's that part of it. Then we have things like a few other accolades and awards. The Magic Castle, for example, the Chicago Lounge. There was one you founded another. I think Monday Night Magic or something.
Sunday Night Magic.
Sunday Night Magic.
Sunday Night Magic is in New York.
The other one in New
By
York.
the
Yeah.
way, I'm going to be on streaming tomorrow night. No, not tomorrow. Sorry, Monday night.
Well, which is why I deliberately kind of accidentally made a mistake. So I cued you in.
Well, I don't think that was a mistake. I think that was very perfect. I'm going to.
Well, thank you. Look at that. We're only a few minutes into the show, and I'm already getting praised by my guests. How cool is that? Let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, what does it feel like to have your first cover and then followed by two more?
I find it to be a great honor because I never intended to be a magician. And I've just been loving every step of the way, and that people like my stuff, that people like what I like is a lovely gift to me. So, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this fun stuff that I find lovely if you guys didn't like it. So thank you all for liking the stuff that I do.
Well, thank you for doing it. And I think I will quote the great John Rockefeller in an article I wrote on him once, and I'll just use a couple of phrases from it. And he said, well, it's all about transmitting what we love to other people so they can love it too. And that's paraphrasing pretty much what it is. And I think you encapsulate that in a number of ways. Of course, talk to us a little bit about the great award you won at the castle. Now, this is a prestigious thing to have. Covers are great, obviously, and you can rest your laurels on that. If you happen to have it, great. If not, it doesn't matter.
So it's a beautiful wooden box, and then it has a plaque that says Academy of Magical Arts, 2010 Close-Up Magician of the Year, and then my name and this beautiful, beautiful magic wand. And I treasure this. This is such a beautiful piece of art to me. And I was so honored, and I still get teary, even 10 years later. I'm still so teary about this award.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We deliberately, accidentally, on purpose talked about Monday night and then Sunday night, and you've had a pretty busy time of it recently. You blew us all away at the HAOM, and then you had some stuff yesterday. You got this today. You got something on tomorrow as well. Tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing tomorrow?
So tomorrow is the Unconventional Fun Convention put on by the Toronto Magic Company, which is Ben Train and Jonah Babbins. And so I'm going to be performing for that. They've got David Williamson is going to be a lecturer. They've got Ozzy Wind. They've got me. They've got a bunch of people. So go to unconventional.fun or do a Google search for it. I don't have the website, but
they could go to your page. There's a link on your page, right?
On my Facebook page, yes.
Yeah. There's a link in there.
And so I'm doing that tomorrow. And then Monday is Monday Night Magic in Chicago. So it's www.mondaynightmagic.com. Doing that. Last night I did Chicago Magic Lounge, and last Friday I also did Chicago Magic Lounge. And then, Anthony, I didn't tell you about this. March 14th, I am doing something through an organization that I founded with a couple local guys called Sunday Night Magic, and a guy named Matt Marcy. I know him from California, and then another guy named Anthony Asimov. I know him also from California. In fact, he was the producer of my Magic Castle X DVD. We're going to do a show together for Sunday Night Magic. So if you go on the Facebook to Sunday Night Magic, then you'll see links to that. And so that will be on March 14th.
Okay,
So
that's good to know. Maybe later on in the show we can get a link or whatever, and when we have the tape, edited after the recording, we'll put it up there for people
great.
to see. That'll be out well before March 14th. So
Oh, yes.
the
Great.
link, which will go on the SAM Vimeo showcase, but it also goes on channel 14 on Abra.tv and on channel 20 on Abra.tv, which is run, and the head honcho there is Tim Wise, who is our president, first VP elect for our International Assembly, of which you're a member. And
Okay.
we have a number of members from the International Assembly here. I've had a quick look at the gallery. We've got Elmo from Finland. We've got the great legendary Mr. Keith Churcher here from England. We have Scott Wells and all these other wonderful people. I can't remember everybody's name that's here. But anyway, having said that, I know you'll remember, and I'm delighted to be instrumental in talking to you and saying, hey, come on back in. The SAM needs you because you were so busy, your membership lapsed. But again, thanks to wonderful lady that I cannot praise enough, Mano Rodriguez, our administrator. She got it all organized and done, and that was it. Just fantastic. Talk to us a little bit now about this Magic Lounge that you're involved with, or you helped to found.
I didn't help found the Chicago Magic Lounge. That's a lovely place in Chicago. I think you showed a picture of that before. It's a lovely venue
Yes.
in Chicago.
Mhm.
And Ben Barnes is part of that. And so that is a really lovely venue. So that is what would be like if we're thinking about comparing it to the Magic Castle, which on some level you can and on some level you can't. That's the 654 Club.
Mhm.
And it holds about 45, 50 people. So we get more of an audience than we do in the close-up gallery. But then there is also a main stage, and I think you could probably fit 150 people in there. And there's a mezzanine and a lower level, and they have a club. I wish I could remember the name of that club. It's like the Round Table or something like that.
Mhm.
For Chicago Magic Lounge, they have a Magician's Club, and it's a lovely space. And I've worked there a couple times, and then did a couple virtual shows for them. And
Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say a couple of mutual friends that I've spoken to in the last several months, or possibly in the last few years, who've been there and performed. I haven't. I don't know it at all. The only time I went to Chicago was to change planes one time, but that's it. But everybody that I've spoken to about this just raves about this place.
oh yeah,
They say how wonderful it is to be a performer there.
Yep.
Just so it must be very magical and
It is.
wonderful.
And they take such good care of you. Ben Barnes, the guy who books for it, is such a sweet man, and I love him very much. And they take such good care of you at Chicago Magic Lounge. And for some of the magicians, they will set up a lecture for one of the clubs there. And so I got to do a lecture the first time that I worked there. Yeah, it's a lovely place. I really enjoy it.
Speaking of lectures and things, I know, in fact, that you are going to be taking a little bit of time off after the middle of March, but then you're going to be available for lectures for magic clubs, and even if it's via Zoom, because I think this is where we're going to go. Whatever happens, and they push the button, and it all goes back to whatever normal is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think life will be a mixture of live gigs and tech stuff, be it Zoom or something different. I don't know. Who can predict these things? Having said that, people contact you and they can kind of work out a date for you to lecture. And you told me something very interesting when we were conversing about a week or so ago, that you have students as well. Well, people kind of.
Yep. Yeah,
how does that work?
I have some local students that I actually go and mentor. Well, there's only one student that I will go to his house because I know that his family is very safe. His mom and dad work at home, and his dad works for a company that actually makes hand sanitizers. So I know that they are very safe. And then I have some other students that I teach over Zoom. And then I give lectures over Zoom as well.
Right. So it's a simple matter if people are kind of going, oh wow, I want to learn this or I want to learn that,
Right.
and you can. They can get in touch with you, and you talk. Is this a plug? Absolutely. Why not? I mean, that's what it's all about. It's sharing.
Well, let me plug this fun thing then. I like to help people with stuff that they already know, because I actually think that magicians know too much stuff already, and so they already have too many tricks. So find something that you know already that you would like to make better, and send me a video of that, and then I can help you make it better. We can work on scripting, we can work on blocking, we can work on timing and stuff like that. That is what I really enjoy doing, is making the piece that you already have be more you, and be more that it really gets across the message that you want to get across. And like with this piece and with the Band-Aid piece, it's that kind of work that I would like to help people with.
Absolutely, because I think there were not sufficient mentors in magic. It seems to me, and some of us have been around for a little while. There are a lot of new people springing up, going, "I got a lecture, and I can teach you this, and I can teach you that," and kind of forget the whole purpose of what we're doing and why, and more importantly, how. So I think there are not enough mentors, and amongst those, I don't really need to bring this up, but does need saying. How would a young lady, or for that matter, seek out a mentor? I mean, even in this day of Zoom and tech stuff, it's very difficult to go to people that you don't know or just heard of. Whereas I think you've got this wonderful facet here by being female and being able to relate to other females. We don't want to get into the whole debate about, female magic. That's all being done to death. We don't really need to go there. So, but I'm saying that's there are a lot of people. I know one of them in our assembly is a young lady. I won't mention her name, but she's kind of, where do I go for that? Who do I go and talk to, about something? So this is a kind of very important facet. And that is actually offered in, albeit somewhat obliquely, in the SAM, and to the best of my knowledge, the only magic organization that's doing that. I mean, the Circle does something, the IBM does something, but this kind of intimacy of the SAM and the types of lectures that they have. I mean, when was it? I think it was Friday. That somebody correct me, I know. We had Meadow Perry. So, how do you get to go and learn about stuff like that? So, and then, Carissa Hendricks and people like that. So someone can actually get in touch with you and go, hi, I'm 23 years old. I'm female. I live in, wherever, Sioux City, Iowa, or San Diego. Can I come be your student? And can you mentor me? And that's how the relationship works. And being of the same gender, it feels safer. And
it probably does feel safer, but I want to let your audience know that it's not. I never really approached my magic about being a female magician, even though at times I have that in my promo stuff, because I don't know, the world wants that. But I want to be a magician first, right. And then who just happens to be a woman. That my being a woman doesn't have anything to do with the magic. So when I take on a student, unless they're specifically looking for something, hey, how can I make this very masculine trick be more feminine, and then we could brainstorm about it, that's not necessarily going to be my approach. And at the same time, I can understand that having a woman mentor, when you are a woman, would feel safer in this day and age than having a man mentor. I mean, I don't know that it's going to make a whole lot of difference in the kind of stuff that you're going to learn.
Oh, it shouldn't.
You know what I'm saying?
I do indeed, and it shouldn't make any difference, because my years in this in showbiz, I have never heard anybody being introduced, and here is a female singer. What? Right. Here is a female dancer. What?
Right.
What is that all about? Really?
Well, and I think it's because we are an anomaly. I mean, I can't remember the numbers, but I asked some of the clubs, and I think it's only about 15% of the membership are women. Um, uh, you guys might be able to correct me on that for the SAM.
Well, we could check that and look it up, but I think
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting little factoid, I think, and I don't. I mean, I really think it has to do with men are just more drawn to this kind of puzzle aspect, and then there's also a power dynamic, and women are brought up
indeed.
to not be able to be powerful, and so there's a lot of things that why women aren't as drawn to men.
Dominant, shall we say, or drawn to, and then
Right.
there are other things that they are dominant. And for example, and I'm sure, I mean, you did this on Penn and Teller's Foolish, and some folks here have seen it, and it's just a thing of absolute artistic beauty that goes beyond magic, and that's your signature piece. Now, you cannot do that unless you're a mom. I mean, it's that simple. You know, the band-aid on your head. In fact, somebody made up a deck that you had to guess who the magician was, and I think we have this still here, which we'll pull up. And the deck showed various things like a goldfish, and people went, "Oh yeah, my king." Let's see if we can pull this one up, and people have to guess who it is. I mean, we've already told them it's you. Can we pull that up?
Actually, that photo's not coming through, unfortunately.
That's not okay. All right. Well, we'll look at it. We'll look at it later on. We got a couple of other photos to talk about. I want to move away a little bit from magic. Stay with it, but kind of move a little away from magic. And I want to be able to, if you don't mind, go into the psyche of Suzanne. Not necessarily. Well, I know a couple of people here, myself, and certainly most illustrious. We love dogs and horses. Absolutely. I mean, no question about it. And I know you do too. And you have this remarkable horse, on which we have a still of you sitting on, called BB.
Oh, this one is actually Hank.
Oh, this is Hank. Sorry, I keep getting it wrong.
That's my second horse, Hank. And he was a Tennessee walking horse, and I got him when he was about 14, and he was very shut down. And I started doing trick training with him, and he could like pick up a bucket, and he would. I taught him first picking up a bucket, but then I taught him how to pick up my baseball hat, because if I'm out riding bareback on the trail and my hat comes off, I'm really little, y'all. If you haven't met me, I'm only 5 feet tall. So, and he was 15'2", which is.
I was going to say, he looks like about 14 hands, more or less. Yeah, is he?
No, he was 15'2", which is 15 to 60 inches, and then add another 2 inches on top of that. Okay. Yeah. And so if I had to get off to get my hat, I wouldn't be able to get back on him. So I taught him how to pick up the hat with his mouth and come back and give it to me, so I could put my hat back on.
Well, that's quite a remarkable feat. People looking at that picture and going, "Yeah, that's Suzanne sitting on a horse." No, it's not Suzanne sitting on a horse. There's no saddle. And if anybody's done any kind of riding, however little or large, that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, to sit on a horse bareback.
And I never put a bit in his mouth either.
I was going to ask you about that, because we talked a little bit about that, and you can't really tell from the photograph, because what have you got there for range? Just like some rope or something?
Yeah, it's just a lead rope and halter. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Now this one, so I don't get it wrong, this was Hank, right?
This one right here that we're looking at a picture of, that's Hank. And I had him from January of 2008 to September of 2015. And over Labor Day weekend, I was working the TAOM convention in Texas. And luckily, I was finished with my lecture and my show the next day. That was so I got done on Saturday, and then Sunday, the barn owner called, because I board my horses. And you never, if you're a horse owner, you know, you never want to see your barn owner's name come up on your phone, because it's bad if the
Right.
barn owner's calling you. So she called and she said, I have to tell you that Hank was struck by lightning. And of course, I was just standing in the lobby of the hotel with all people milling around. And I said, oh my God, is he okay? And she said, no, he died.
Uh,
And so I'm not able to be, I'm in Texas and I can't be in Minneapolis where my horse's body is. And even if I could go home, I had another gig in Colorado the following the following Thursday. So there was no way I was going to be able to go back. And I was just going to have to grieve the loss of my baby that I had for 8+ years.
Yes. Now, it wasn't just Hank's passing that hit you, because you had just gotten over a couple of, shall we say, personal things. Would you like to share that with us? And it all kind of came bam. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually a lot earlier, but it was what was able to get me into horses. I'm assuming that you're talking about the cancer diagnosis.
Yes, when you had your cancer diagnosis,
Right,
that didn't help a whole lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with a gynecological cancer in '99, and at the time I was an avid rollerblader and weightlifter, and then after the surgery, it was fairly extensive. We didn't even know if I was going to live or not. I wasn't able to rollerblade and weightlift anymore, and so then my sweet husband said, well, we've got to find something else that brings you joy. What's something that you've always wanted? And after some thought, a picture of a horse came into my mind, and I burst into tears and I went, I think I've always wanted a horse. And then I look back at my childhood and go, yeah, I've always wanted a horse, but we lived in the city. I couldn't have a horse and I didn't know how to go about getting a horse. So I started my horse adventure in 2004. And so my first horse was Onyx, which we don't have a picture of Onyx. And I had him for about 3.5 years. And then I got Hank. And then I got.
Here she is. Yes.
That's my sweet girl, BB.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine found out that Hank died. And I was sitting in the hotel room just grieving Hank's death. And my friend sent me.
This was in a hotel room in Texas, right?
In Texas, yes.
Right. Yeah.
My riding buddy sent me a picture of her. Now this picture's from last year, and I've had her. This year will be 6 years, and she was only 1 when I got her. So she's what is the date today? Tomorrow? Oh no, Monday, March 1st. She will be 7.
Wow.
So she's only 6 right now. But my friend sent me a picture of her when she was just a yearling, and but I didn't have her name. And I'm looking at this picture and I'm thinking, what would I name her if she was mine? And I was imagining like trick training her and stuff like that. And I thought, well, what would I name her if she was mine? And I burst into tears and I said, I would call her Baby. So I texted my friend, what is this little filly's name? And she checked with the breeder and she typed back Bebe, Bibi, or Bebe. Technically it's Bebe.
Bebe, yes.
But I read Bibi. And I thought, well, that is so close to Baby. That is just so synchronistic. So I went to see her after I got back from my show in Colorado. And the breeder pointed her out in the pasture, and we walked into the pasture. And Bibi raised up her head and made eye contact with me. And you could see on her face, she went, oh, there you are.
Oh, wow.
And she walked up to me and put her head right on my chest. Now, if you don't know horses, you won't know they don't do that.
Right.
They don't just walk up and put their head on some strange person's chest.
Right.
And I told myself, before I met BB, well, I need to look at least 10 horses, because the first one that you look at, you fall in love with. So I asked the breeder, how many other horses do you have for sale? And she said that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. And I went, okay, looked at them. I want this one. So I found a loophole in my.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's if you go into a shelter and picking up a dog or something like, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
There's suddenly something happens. I can't explain it. I don't know if anybody else can, but I can't. There is a chemistry, a connection, an energy, whatever, whatever the word is. Who cares what the word is?
Yeah,
it's just pure love that happens. Bam! Instantly.
It was.
It's just bam. That's it. Love at first sight. Whatever happens, that's it. That's it. You don't care. You don't worry about the price. You don't worry about anything. I gotta have that dog, or I gotta have that horse. Yeah.
So I told the breeder about the me wanting to call her baby,
mm-hmm.
and then her name being Bebe or Bibi,
mm-hmm.
and I told her about that, and she said, "Oh wow, I just changed her name. I just changed her name to Bebe." And she said, I was really embarrassed about the name that it was before. And I thought nobody would ever buy a horse with that name. And I said, well, what did you call her before? Because I thought it was going to be something really dumb. She said, I was calling her baby.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it was, I mean, it's a little too woo-woo for me, but that was like the ether.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? It's good woo-woo, because baby, baby, whatever, in other languages, it's bebe.
It's
and
baby.
It means baby. It means baby. In other languages as well. Now, I don't want to really go into this, but I kind of do in a way for people watching this live, and at the same time when they watch the clip, because what touched me about you is that your journey back after hearing, okay, you've achieved a certain amount of fame, and you're doing very well in the art that you perform, etc. And then suddenly, you get this diagnosis. And the reason I want to bring it up, and I did ask your permission way before the show and said, could we talk about that? And you said, yeah, sure, because I'd like you to. Because it's going to be inspirational to somebody, either watching today or watching the clip later down the line, that you don't necessarily have to go, oh my God, this is it. That there is life after tragedy, if I can call it that.
I'm assuming that you're talking about the day after story that I sent to you. Yeah.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was a shock. And the doc was saying, well, we don't know how far it is. It could be in your kidneys, it could be in your bladder, but we've got to send you to the U. So I went to the U and got a further diagnosis from an oncologist there at the U. And she said, yep, definitely we need to do surgery as soon as possible. 2 weeks is the closest that we've got, that we could get an OR, but we don't want to go any past that, because we do not know how far this is, and if it's in your lymphatic system, that could get really bad. And so the day after that, and of course I'm just like distraught and crying and
well, it's understandable.
And my son is only 9 at the time, so I mean I'm afraid that I'm going to die, and that my son is going to grow up without a mom, and that my husband is going to have to be a single dad, and that he's going to lose his wife. And so I wasn't really afraid of dying. I'm not necessarily afraid of that, but I'm afraid about what's left after I'm gone, like people that I have responsibility to take care of, right? So I'm of course distraught and terrified, and the next day I have a show, and I have to get up, dry my eyes, get dressed, and go to the show. And it was a fancy groom's dinner at a fancy country club. And I remember this, it was very surreal because I put on my smile and I got on my coat and I'm ready and I've got my cards in my pocket and I'm going to do my strolling act for these people who the parents of the bride and groom had seen me at one of the restaurants where I work, and they wanted their guests to experience that. So I walk into the country club, and I'm like separated from this part of me that is terrified and sobbing, and the magic part of me is ready to do the show, but this other little part is just terrified. And so I don't know how I knew to do this, but I took her by the hand and I set her, and I did this mentally. I set her in a chair by the door so that she could watch and that I could keep an eye on her so that I could go do my job. I needed to be able to go and do my job. And she's sitting there kind of watching the proceedings, and she's still grieving. And I'm able to do my show. I'm able to do my act because I know it inside and out. Everything is scripted. Everything is wrote. Everything is like clockwork. And where I get into trouble, and this happens almost all the time, people want to know about me. So they'll say, are you married? Do you have kids? Oh, I bet your kid really loves watching you do magic. Oh, and they ask me all these questions. And so the bride started asking me a bunch of questions to find out about my life. And I've been asked all these questions so many times before. I have lines that I say that like, oh, that's this and that's this. And so I have answers to everything. And I was able to just kind of do everything by rote, but I was no longer in performance mode. Now I was actually like conversing, having a back and forth, which arguably my performance style is kind of a back and forth anyway, but this is less controlled than the magic portion. And I remember this just viscerally. As she was asking me questions, that little part of me that had been sitting in the chair came right to my ear and started screaming in my ear, they don't really want to know what you really feel. They don't really want to know about your real life, because if you told them, it would wreck it all. And that I wasn't able to tell them about the cancer. I wasn't able to tell them about the turmoil that my life had just been thrown into the day before. And I needed to kind of hug that little part of me and say, sweetie, I cannot talk to you right now. You've got to go back and sit back down, and I will be with you as soon as possible. And so she got it. That little part of me got it, and she went back and she sat back down, and I was able to finish the show. And then I picked her up and carried her out when I went to my car, and then we spent a lot of time crying in the car before I could drive back. I can tell even 21 years later, I can still tell how emotional that was, because I'm a little teary about that whole thing.
That's very understandable, and I don't think you're alone. I'm kind of tearing up listening to it a little bit. I don't know about anybody else, but you know, the positive upside of that is thank you.
I didn't die. There's a positive upside.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's a kind of given. But what I was referring to is that, you know, firstly, thank you for sharing that part of you. Because I'd asked you earlier on when we were chatting and prepping for the show, and you know, we'd done this over 2 or 3 weeks and chatted and what have you. You know, most people kind of think, well, that's great. You just bring a guest on, put the camera on, and that's it. No, it doesn't. There's a hell of a lot of prep stuff that happens. And I asked you, and you said, no, I don't mind sharing that at all. And I thought, well, you know, what a gracious thing to do. I wouldn't have brought it up without your permission, obviously, but what a gracious thing to do. And I think what you've done now, and at the risk of repeating myself, that's truly inspirational. That's truly inspirational, because I know you've got to go and get some stuff done, you know, nothing major, but you still got to get it done, and then you'll be back in the loop after that. Yeah. And one of the things, and I only know that because when I asked you, you said, no, I can't do that. I need to do these dates. Otherwise you'll have to wait.
Because of the March surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. And I went, I'll tell you what, I'll change the entire schedule. You tell me which day, I'll make it work. Right? I'll talk
thanks,
to one of the other guests.
yeah, because after the surgery, I'm going to be out of it for a little bit. So
Yeah, you're going to have to recover.
So the cancer did get into my lymphatic system. So because of that, I needed 26 treatments of radiation. And what was really difficult for me at the time was the surgery was in late October, and the radiation couldn't start for 6 weeks after that because you've got to heal and everything. I mean, they totally open you up to do everything that they've got to do. And I was still pretty young then. I think I was only like 38 or something like that. But it trashed me pretty well because it was fairly extensive. And then the 26 treatments of radiation went through December. So it ended on Christmas Eve was the last radiation treatment. But that meant I had my December shows, which if you're a strolling magician, you know, you get a lot of shows, strolling shows in December. I mean, I'm doing 2, sometimes 3 shows a day. So the people doing the radiation understood that I usually work evenings, so they always set my radiation for morning. So I'd get up in the morning as a cancer patient. I'd have to go for radiation. And then because it was a gynecological cancer, the radiation was my abdomen. And so it caused like nausea and vomiting and diarrhea and stuff like that. So I had to deal with all of that during the day. And then I tried to nap.
Right.
But then I'd get ready for my gig that day. And I would be crying because I'm the cancer patient and I'm dying and all of that. And then I put on my magic monkey suit and I drive to the show and I'm like, and I do my show. And that is what made me feel better. So I was able to get away from the fear and the pain of the whole thing about cancer. And then I was able to do my job, which brings me so much joy. And it brightened it up for me. And by the time the end of the radiation was done, I didn't have the emotional, it wasn't so bad then because I knew that I was able to go and do my show. I knew I was going to be able to smile and laugh and be happy and connect with people. And
this is what happens very often in show business, as we all know, because all of us sitting here, possibly 1 or 2 exceptions, in fact, are all performers of some kind. And I think it's accredited to Plato. I don't know if he actually said it or not, but it's accredited to him. And to paraphrase it, be kind. Everybody is going through a battle you know nothing about.
Yep.
You know, people see us and we're on stage and we're doing whatever we're doing and whatever, and they have no idea we're mourning the loss of somebody. We're mourning the loss of a pet in your case, and happened once to me with my dog, and you know, different things. But you got to do that. You got to kind of like, yes, let's do it. I've just seen a very nice little thing come up. You may have seen it from Dan Sclair, who is a lifetime membership officer at the SAM, and he says magic makes you strong.
Yep.
And I would be inclined to agree with that from my own personal empirical experience. I don't know about anybody else, but I think you would just about agree with it too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I know for me, magic gets me into this flow experience. Anthony, we didn't talk about this. Have you ever heard of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi? He's a physicist, I think, but he talks about finding flow. I highly recommend that book, Finding Flow. And it's helped me tremendously with my with performing, understanding how flow works. Mm-hmm. And I find myself getting into flow, like I kind of feel in flow right now, to where I'm not having to think about what to say. I'm not having to really, of course, when I say that, then I jump out of flow, but it just kind of puts you in this state where you're flowing with everything. And if you can get into that when you're performing, then you have this observer self that observes your performance, and then you can correct it in little parts. So But Finding Flow is a book that I would highly recommend. It's not about magic. It's about
it's fine. It is about magic, a different kind, obviously.
a different kind of magic. Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. There's all kinds of magic. I know for a fact we have another one of our International Assembly members here, Mr. Paul Abbey from England, and he and I have spoken about, Tai Chi, and the Chinese called Qi, and the Japanese called Ki. Exactly. Yeah, that kind of internal Qigong, more the art, if you like, but the internal energy, the prana. Yes, and to some degree, whether it's Stanislavski in New York teaching you method acting, or someone else, yes, it's that flow that you have to create within yourself. And I think in your case, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I really, truly am. I'm not just saying that because you're here. I truly am, because there are so many people in show business, magic included as well, who tend to forget that. It's not just coming on, I do one trick after another and that's it. Look at me, I've done some tricks and I've fooled you. No, it's not what it's about. It's about a performance, and it's about using that phrase of John Rockefeller's that he told me when I was writing about it, making people love what you love. And how can you do that unless you create the flow and love yourself? I mean, would you agree with that?
Oh, I absolutely. I mean, I like to share this aspect of myself that's, and I can make it bigger than like me. It's just, it's an aspect of myself. It's this outgoing kind of gregarious, hopefully charming, compassionate self. And I'm really very much an introvert. So when I don't know if you knew that about me, Anthony, but I am very much an introvert. And so,
well, I kind of knew that. And I'll tell you what, there's a certain amount of empathy going on, because whenever I tell people that, they go, "You really?
Yeah,
you're so verbose and you're out there." And they, and I go, yeah, but really, if you saw me, with the jacket off and off stage, I'm just like want to sit on the floor and roll with the dog.
Yep. Yeah. What I want to do. Yeah. What I want to do is sit at the barn in my canvas chair with Beatty munching the grass and me listening to the peeper frogs and nobody else around, and I can be all day by myself and fully be fulfilled there. But that aspect of me that likes to perform, she is kind of excited now that I get to talk to people and that I'm doing some Zoom shows now. And she really was very sad at the beginning of the pandemic, because I have 3 restaurants I work. And so now I'm missing 3 opportunities a week to go out and talk to people, plus the private shows that I get. And even in small snippets, like 2 hours at a time, that was a nice way for me to get my extroverted part, which is not,
I know
it can't take very much, but I can feed that extroverted part.
Yeah, I'm going to use a dreadful metaphor, but I think it makes the point. If we're not doing that, we don't get our fix.
Yeah, right. No,
it's a dreadful metaphor, I know, but it is. If we're honest with ourselves, that is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, dear Scott Wells is here, I know, and I remember him years and years ago saying something which stuck in my brain, and it's so important what he said. A magician who is not doing something for an audience is actually fooling himself. That's it. Words to that effect. I don't know if he's nodding in agreement or not, but God, I'll say anything. I'll do anything to get a free martini from him. You know that. Right. Actually, what I really want to do is steal his shirt that's got 3 olives on it. Yeah. Next time I'm in Texas, guess what? That shirt's going to disappear. Oh, look, he's holding up his Batman shirt. I'm not interested. We got a president who's got tons of the Batman stuff. Suzanne, there is so very much we could have covered. I am joyous that you were so kind to share some of the deeper aspects of you, or she who sits in the chair over there, which is really nice, and not many people get to see that. And it takes some extraordinary courage, which I want to acknowledge publicly, to be able to talk about and share what you've just shared and spoken about. So thank you for that. You know what? I have all kinds of lovely people as my guests. I've got more lovely people coming up. But I have to say this, no disrespect to anybody past or future. I have so empathized and loved everything that you've done tonight. Honestly, I just love this. And I've had tons of conversations with you without even this show, but just this show. It's been like, you know, just been taken into your heart. It's you putting a Band-Aid on my head and saying, hey, Anthony, I love you. You're bruised. You know, there it is. I don't care that the letter is changed from a J to a B or an L. I'm not bothered about that. It's that caring. And I think, you know, hopefully there's a lot of people here nodding and agreeing with me. Well, I hope so. But certainly from my part. So what I really want to do now, if that's okay by you, is to obviously thank you profusely for your time. And for sharing everything you've just shared. And I'd like to give everybody attending an opportunity to maybe, you know, say something in chat if they don't want to speak to you directly. But I can assure them, and they've learned by now, it's not this, you know, Suzanne the magician superstar. Yes, it's there, but there's also this lovely, lovely, gentle, beautiful human being.
Well, I am scary, Anthony.
Nah, that I ain't gonna buy. I'm not gonna buy that. I'm not gonna buy that. No way. The last thing you are is scary. Come on. No way. No, I'm not gonna buy that. Far be it from me to disagree with my guest, but you know what? Nah, you're not.
I think I was being sarcastic.
Ariel Furlick, who's our wonderful friend in Canada, has just put up and said wonderful words. I'll get him to say it out loud on camera. So I think, firstly, thank you. My thanks to very, very quickly to our Dean, George Schindler, to our President-elect, Mr. Tom Gentile, and of course, obviously, most illustrious Joel Zawitsky, and indeed, our wonderful man, I always call him riding shotgun, which is Brett, who takes care of the room and gallery and makes sure everything rolls as it should, because I'm an idiot and I don't know any of that stuff. Really, I'm not. I don't know. Somebody's just put up, I can't see it, went off, said that you're inspiring. So please, would you all give a nice round of applause, either in the Zoom way or put your mics on and close. I am, because I can't think of another word. It's been delightful.
Oh, thank you. So always nice talking with you.
Thank you. It's wonderful sharing a camera and a mic with you. It really is. So could we please, most illustrious, open up the chat and the...
question for Suzanne?
I'm going to grab a bottle of water. Ask the question.
All right.
Sure, go ahead.
The wand you got from the Magic Castle, does the wand present itself when you open the box?
Well, here, let's open it up. It's got a little...
I'm familiar with a gentleman that came up with that idea. I'm wondering if it was okay. It just locks in. Oh,
yeah, it locks in. It's got
beautiful wand.
Really cool little lock thing, and it just locks right in. And he made special wands for, like, everybody's wand looks different, and so he like finds out about you. His I don't know the symbolism for the kind of wood that he used. I don't even know what I did at one point know the kind of wood that he used and the tips that he put on. And then this is brass, little brass rings. And I think each magician gets a different looking wand. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, it's very beautiful. And I'm on some level, I'm sort of sad that I don't use a magic wand. But here, I'll even put this.
And what year was that?
2010.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah.
Technically, it was awarded to me in 2011, in April of 2011, but it was for 2010's.
I think we've got a still of you receiving it somewhere. We may have.
Possibly.
I'm almost certain that we do somewhere. Oh, I think there it is. You're being presented with it.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, and that's Keith David. He was in a lot of really wonderful. I really did not think that I was going to be awarded this, and I was so shocked and so honored. It just was such a lovely honor. That's
you're reliving that emotion right now, aren't you? I can tell. I can tell. Yeah.
A friend of mine, I've got on my YouTube channel, my friend videoed on her phone me going up. And so my little acceptance speech is on there. So if you go to my YouTube channel, YouTube/SUZ Magic, youtube.com/Suze Magic. So it's SUZMAGIC.
Excellent, excellent. We can do that. Well, I think if I don't know if it's, we have Dr. Arslan Tunca from Turkey who joins us from time to time. It's very late there, I know, and I have no idea how to say, good evening in Turkish. I have no idea. How we speak in English.
İyi geceler mi say? İyi geceler.
Good luck with that. I'll let you do it. No. I'll let you do it. Well, thank you for showing up. So if there's anybody else would like to speak directly with Suzanne, I'm sure she'll be happy to
Anthony, we had a question from Crow.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I know who that is. Yep. Okay. Yep. I don't see the question, but good evening. Nice to see you, Crow. Yeah.
Thank you. I do have a question, and I would like to thank Suzanne for this amazing conversation and chat. And it's quite inspiring. And the question I have, and it has to do with it goes with a comment that Scott made, which is a magician who's not working is only fooling himself. So me being a layperson, not in the area of magic, at what point do you know that you stop doing just those magic for family and friends, where if anything goes wrong, it's okay, to the point where you decide that you have the confidence to do it professionally and where everything has to be exact and come out right? So what's the point? What was the point for you?
That's an excellent question. I am an anomaly. I came to magic 100% green when I was about 24. And then I met this guy named Al Schneider, who is a magic technician. And there was a kind of this chance meeting with him at a magic club, which was also a chance meeting to go to the magic club. So it was almost like fate or destiny to meet Al. And he did some stuff that fried my brain, and it sort of flipped me out. And I went, I got to learn from this guy. After 3 months of training with Al, I started doing restaurant magic. And within 3 months after that, I met another guy. His name's Eugene Berger, an amazing storytelling magician. And he helped me get into a very upscale restaurant. And that really started my career as a corporate magician. So within a year after training with Al, I quit my job as a computer programmer, which I had a degree, a computer science, and I was a computer programmer at this one accounting, the place that did accounting software. And I quit my job doing that and just started doing magic. So from knowing only, and the magicians will laugh at this, knowing only the 21 card trick, to being a professional magician in a year is ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's friggin' amazing.
It is amazing, yeah.
Well, I had an amazing mentor in Al Schneider. I mean,
And still working.
I'm still working. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so everybody else was doing like card tricks and coin tricks and stuff like that. And Al did this. He did this. He went, here. And it flipped my brain out. And then he pulled it out. Wait, he pulled it out of that elbow. I forgot which elbow he pulled it out of. But I had never seen like real magic like that before. And he is the reason that I have the sleight of hand chops that I have. This cups and balls routine is his routine, the physical part, but it's my script. He hated that script, by the way, because he's not a storytelling magician. But it's Al's. The way that Al taught is what gave me my chops that has carried me through for I've been doing this.
Let's just read a few things coming through here. Just 1 second, please. I just want to acknowledge a few things coming through. From Eric Fairlake up in Canada, our pal in Canada, he says, as I wrote above, Suzanne the magician, superstar, absolutely. Oh, from dear Harriet, very touching experience listening to you. Thank you for sharing. It was very meaningful. Virtual hugs from Harriet. That's dear Harriet Jacobson, which pretty much all of us will know. Heath Churcher. Oh, this is a fine gentleman who's responsible for a number of magicians being quite famous, actually, a number of them. I'm very fortunate to have him as an honorary member of the SAM International Assembly. And Keith is more or less the same age as our dean. So he's been around for a little while and knows some things. Right. Thank you, Suzanne. There you are, Keith. Thank you, Suzanne. You're a very giving lady. Keep well and stay safe. Barry Tunkel, I don't know who you are, sir, but he says continued good health. John O'Riordan, I know who John is from the Magic Circle in London. A very fine Irishman. He says, thank you, Suzanne. Very inspiring. Somebody called iPad says, hello, love. Ariel says, superstar.
Hiya, Suzanne.
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic to see you tonight. I've come online especially to see you doing your thing and your talk. It was really inspiring. I gotta ask you a couple of things. I'm an actor by trade. I got into magic as an actor. A very funny, similar thing kind of to you. I never really intended to be a magician. I just kind of fell into it. It was I wasn't getting any acting work, and the magic kind of took over. And watching you, you're what I call a very natural performer. And have you ever done any acting, or have you ever done any performance skill training before that? Because you come over so differently from a lot of other magicians that I know.
That's a really good question. I have never done that. A lot of it is just I like to watch comedians to learn timing. I don't watch magicians to learn timing. I watch comedians. And I watch actors to learn how to emote. But I've never really had any like official training. When I first started doing this, you'll laugh, I'm sure. When I first started doing this cups and balls routine, the scripting sounded very much like Captain Kirk from Star Trek. I sounded very like I overdid lines, and I was very dramatic. But videoing it and going, oh yeah, I don't like that, and comparing it to actors that I really respect, I was able to kind of pull from them. But I didn't watch magicians to learn how to do that.
That's a very cool answer, and a very interesting answer, because pretty much the same as me, and I think this is why I identified with what you were doing. I got my style from actors. If you listen to a lot of famous actors, if you listen to people like Steve McQueen, he called himself a reactor, and he got his styling from people like Humphrey Bogart and people like this.
Yeah.
So I could see that going on.
Yeah. I think that you've got to look outside the craft that you're in and see what else is out there, because I sort of kind of hate this term, but it's the only way that I can think to say it. We as a society are sort of incestuous, we learn from each other and we don't try looking outside. And I think to be a more well-rounded performer, you need to look outside and see what other art forms are doing, and go from there.
Yeah, sure. I agree with that. And one final other little question: what is that on your left wrist?
Oh, it's a tattoo. So it looks like a watch, right?
Yeah,
but the face is an infinity sign, and then the band is all an infinity, and it has a watch stem on it too. I don't know if you can see that from there.
Yeah.
I can get closer to the camera if you want to see it closer. So it's just looks like a watch. Yeah. And
I actually think it was a very, very thin, fine designer watch from the distance. It's very cool.
Yeah, people think I'm just wearing a watch, but yeah, it's a tattoo. And this is really because I was working with healing a lot of trauma from the cancer diagnosis, which I'll just add, and this doesn't have anything to do with the day after thing, but I had been misdiagnosed for like 6 years. And so the person who was medically caring for me, wanted it to be something different. And so I was misdiagnosed for a very long time, and it wouldn't have got as far as it did if she had done what she was supposed to do. And so, this is to remind me to just stay here, to be here now, and to live in the moment, because that's all we have is the moment. An infinity sign, instead of writing now, I decided to write infinity. So
well, that is so you. And speaking of so you, there's a wonderful lady here. I don't know her personally, but I have heard of her, and I'm sure you will know who she is. Jennifer Grimm. Yeah, and she says, when you were talking about women magicians, Suzanne and I have been the only 2 female presidents of IBM Ring 19 in Minneapolis so far. I like the so far bit.
Oh, yes.
and our dear pal, Lovish man a bitch, Scott Wells, says that he actually also trained with Al, and he's still using some of his work, as I understand, Scott.
I've enjoyed the conversation that you had here with Tony this evening. So it's been wonderful listening. It's been kind of lurking here in the background, but yeah, Al Schneider had this great workshop, and that was one of the first things I had learned, and still today, it's just the technique of how to practice.
Yeah.
He had something, back then that was so very important, certainly. And, someone had asked earlier about when you're turning professional. And that reminded me of what I used to do. I felt comfortable, as most magicians do when you're starting out. You feel comfortable performing for friends and family. And so I was doing that for a very long time. There were always people in my audience who were friends I knew, because I was just, as I was getting started, really kind of in a smaller area, basically. And I remember once there was a couple who I knew, and I was doing a big stage show with doves and zigzag and everything. And the next day I was asking them if they enjoyed the show. And they said, oh, we had to leave early. And that was the very first time I thought, so I was actually performing in front of a complete group of strangers, because prior to that, I had at least one person in the audience. I felt I was performing for them personally. But now I thought, okay, and they love me, the rest of the audience. So I guess I am a professional. I can perform for strangers, and I don't need to have friends in the audience to feel professional. Anyhow, that was my transition.
I didn't have any family in town, because I moved to Minneapolis from Battle Creek, Michigan, where I grew up, to be with my then boyfriend. I ended up marrying him. I was going to make a joke, but I won't. But yeah, so I ended up like moving here, and so it was like only him, and he was in a band. And I would go and watch him play. And then the people who came out to see him, I would do magic for them, and they'd go, what, at the table. And then all these other people around wanted to know what they were going about. And so they asked me to go over and do magic for them at their tables. And so I was just at this dive bar where my husband was playing in some, or boyfriend at the time was playing in some country band, and doing magic for people I didn't know, drunk people that I didn't know. And then I started working at like a family style restaurant, 2 family style restaurants. And that it just got to where I was performing for strangers more than I was performing for family, because I didn't have family.
You performed for drunk people? My gosh, well, I'm sure that's never happened to any of us
Any
here.
of us, ever.
The best audience.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, that separates the girls from the women and the boys from the men. If you've never done that, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh,
And if
I
you
love
have,
the drunk
you're gonna nod your head and go, "Yeah, been there, done that, got the T-shirt." Yeah.
I love the drunk people are my favorite audiences because if my audiences are real compliant, it doesn't get. I want a challenge, kind of. I mean, I don't want people to be mean or grabby or anything like that, but I do like to have a little bit of a challenge, and yeah. So I like performing for drunk people.
Suzanne, when you do your Band-Aid magic trick, I heard a little bit the other night of your story behind how you really upped that before you took that to Penn and Teller. But it seemed like there was an emotional attachment to that. And I was just wondering, when you're creating your magic, do you have that in mind to get people emotionally attached to the magic? And if so, what are some of the techniques you use to draw them in that way?
Are you talking about me being emotionally attached to the actual trick itself?
No, you drawing people in, not just as a participant, but as somebody who is emotionally attached to the story you're telling.
Oh, I see. I see.
Heartstrings.
I think some of it is that I know the things that are important to me, and how the script for that came about was my son banged his elbow when he was a little kid, and elbow bangs hurt really bad, and I can relate to that. And he wanted a Band-Aid because it hurt so bad. And I had seen the inventor of the Band-Aid transpo, Joe Given. He's the one who invented that, the original version of that. I had seen him do that piece at an IBM convention that came to Minneapolis. And I thought, oh, I would never do that trick because his presentation did not speak to me. And I'm not saying anything bad about the presentation. I'm just saying I didn't connect with it. But then I bought the lecture notes because it was a neat puzzle. But when my son banged his elbow and wanted a Band-Aid, it was like what that trick actually meant to me wrote itself. It just came forefront in my frontal cortex and was like, that's the trick. And so after I gave the kid the Band-Aid, then I wrote the script down, and it's kind of evolved a little bit, but really for the most part, it's the way that it happened, you know?
So most of your tricks then, when you emotionally draw in the audience, you're drawn off of your personal experiences?
Yeah, right. And this as well, this is my personal experience, this having 3 different travelers or 2 friends of your own, and you all follow a different path. Like maybe you're a magician and your friend is a musician and your other friend is a lawyer. And you all follow different paths with different philosophies. And when you come together, you can learn from each other different aspects of their lives, and it shapes your life, right? Yes. So this could be about philosophy, about religion or magic, or how to do surgery, or how to train a horse, or whatever. It could be anything. But because it can touch many things, because you're not talking about just one thing. And so it can speak to all sorts of different people. And that Band-Aid trick, some people had a great relationship with their mother. And so that can bring up memories of their childhood that is lovely and caring. Some people didn't have a good relationship with their mother. And this is a healing almost that they could have by thinking about what would I have liked it to have been like. I would have liked to have had my mom show me care and give me a hug when I was feeling hurt. It's not uncommon to when I do this with a man, that I could feel him soften and he'd give me a hug afterwards. And it's like, this is kind of the care that he never got. And I can tell that that's what it is.
I was just reading in the comments in here, something that might get emotional for you now. There's somebody in there, PJ. PJ says, I would like to show Suzanne a picture that she will like. And PJ, in order for you to come up big on here, you're going to have to talk and say something when you show that picture.
I don't have to be scared about this picture, do I? Oh, look at that. I remember that night. Yes, yes. I remember that. Oh, yeah. Allie actually helped me a lot there. This was probably opening night of the convention. So that would have been Friday night. And then I did my stuff on Saturday. And then on Sunday, when I got the call from the barn owner, Allie Shelley is a flight attendant, or she was a flight attendant for United or something like that. And and I might have flown in United, and I wanted her to help me figure out how to get home. So she is the first person I called after I got back to my room after Hank died. She's the first person I called, and she stayed with me the rest of that time. So Allie and Steve, why am I blanking on his name? Daly. So Allie and Steve Daly protected me because I was so raw. So they kind of circled around me, if you can circle with two people. But
there's a couple of people. There was Ariel, there was Scott, all of them who are invoking the name of Mr. Schneider. Al Schneider.
Oh, yeah.
Ariel was just saying something about the Matrix. And Donna Horn, who is also a member of our International Assembly. She says, thank you. She was on the cover of MUM not that a few years ago. Thank you so much for sharing your touching story. Oh man, how cool is that? And I've just seen the CEO of Aber TV, Tim Wise. So Tim.
Hey Tim.
Hey, how are you? Nice to see you. What a pleasure to spend the afternoon with you today. Just watching and listening, and your infinity sign, and your you said you're not into the woo-woo, but we're all in the metaphysics.
We're all a little wooey, yeah.
Well, we're here though. I mean, really, the present. I mean, I have a partner. My partner is dying of cancer, or she has cancer, pancreatic cancer. And so when you bring this forward say that this is the day we get. We don't get tomorrow, right? And so to stay in the moment, and that's where your presentation is very in the moment. And so it's just a delight to hear the story, to hear the relationships that we have, that you don't know how they're going to what the outcome is, or you'll see these people go in different directions, then you reconverge, and then you have a new experience, but it's based on all of these human experiences.
Right. Yep.
Right. So how much fun. It was a delight to watch and listen today. And, you're a rock star in our world, and we appreciate you so much. And I guess that's my 2 cents. It's nice to see you. And I think we saw each other. The last time I saw you was at Wonderground, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, at Wonderground in, I had come for a Magic and Meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lovely dear Eugene, who was very important to all of us, and understanding how important scripting is in our performance. And some magicians are tricksters, and some people understand the value of storytelling. And you certainly do. So thank you again. It's a pleasure to see you, and continued success, really.
Thanks. It's good to see you.
Well, I think all of us at one time or the other at Wonderground had the pleasure of Tim. That's where I first met him. In fact, he was emceeing when I did some things a couple of years ago. And who
really brought us all together is Mr. McBride.
Mr. McBride. Jeff brought us together. That's right.
Really
that was fun. And then we've stayed good buddies, and working on a couple of things together, and got him into the International Assembly, and we got Abra News. Am I plugging all that? Absolutely, I'm plugging it, because what is Abra News?
You're unabashed, Anthony. You are unabashed.
No, man. Listen, it's all about sharing, because what Abra News? We talk about Bruce Calver lecturing. We bring magic news from the Magic Circle. We bring magic news from the IBM. We pay respects to people who've passed. You know, if you don't know it, go check it out. I mean, it's there. It's not costing you a dime, and that's what we're doing.
It's not costing you yet. I mean, actually,
yeah,
Suzanne,
okay.
Say something. What were you going to say? Suzanne, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say Suzanne.
Yeah,
yes, of course.
I just did a thing, a little talk with Larry Haas for. Were you there, Tim?
Try to attend as many things as Jeff is producing. They're so prolific at the school right now, so it's hard to catch.
this was it this one? Nope. I've been doing so many Zooms. Oh, here it is. Larry Haas did for a Mystery School Monday, episode 505.
Yes.
And so it's an appearing on a Penn and Teller Fool Us thing. And then
I was in the room that day.
Oh, yeah. And I thought that I had seen you there. So if you guys watch any of the Mystery School stuff, I go in more depth about
the whole episode was around being on Fool Us, right?
Yep,
and Johnny's influence, man, when we start talking about people that are really important, Johnny, come on.
Johnny and
and I had to, when I was producing Hollywood Stars of Magic up close in Vegas, Johnny did his last performance in my theater.
Oh, wow.
And of course, we didn't know that. He was supposed to be scheduled a few weeks later at the Magic Castle, and then it was over. And then the realization. But no, what to have Johnny as a mentor to guide you through that was amazing.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing to get to know Johnny and to be able to call him a friend.
We're the lucky ones, right?
Yep. And to be able to call Eugene Berger my friend. I mean.
Oh, absolutely. How blessed were we to have known him and spent time with him. Just amazing. There's a backstory which I won't tell now, which is how, we became Anthony Darkstone. Yes, Darkstone is actually my maternal grandfather's name. But what I will do is, I think you're probably tired and you got a gig coming up tomorrow. You need some food and rest, don't you, Suzanne?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think maybe the time has now come for all of us to say, maybe give a nice round of applause. You've got your mics off, so do it. You don't need to do the Zoom thing, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks to Suzanne. Thanks to everybody who attended. Goes, hey, it's Ariel. Right.
Hey, Ariel.
Hey, Suze.
Yeah.
Another man I love right there.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the great minds of magic. One of the great minds of magic. So thank you to everybody.
Anthony?
Nobody else has got. Yes, sir.
Can I make an announcement, please?
Please do, Dan. Please.
I put it in the chat, but my club, the Central Connecticut Magicians Association, our March 8th Zoom meeting at 7:30 p.m. We're hosting Joyce Zachary, National Secretary of SAM. If anybody's interested in attending, my email is in the chat. Let me know. You have to be a SAM member to attend.
What time is this? 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern, Central,
Eastern.
what? Eastern. Okay. All right. Okay. Because now whenever I make posts as well, I always put in the UK time so people can kind of judge it from various parts of Europe that we have members in. And then I always kind of add the bit, check Google for your local times. I have no idea what a member in Singapore's time is. I really don't. Or the other member in Malaysia or whatever, But anyway, there we are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Oh, we have a lovely thank you from John O'Riordan. John, do you want to say a few words or you want to just stay with the chat? There's another fine gentleman of magic, a great gentleman from Ireland. So, no, John is quite happy just to stay in chat. Okay.
It was very inspirational tonight to listen to Suzanne. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think all that I have to do is once again, I mean, I keep doing this, but why not? Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Most Illustrious and for Brett for always handling all the tech stuff behind the scenes and sometimes in front of the scenes. And of course, to truly remarkable lady, Suzanne.
Thank you, Anthony.